Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals live post-game show. What a disastrous turn of events for the Arizona Cardinals, who Frank Sanders looked like they were going to come out and at least tie the game in the final seconds. Kyler Murray makes a blunder that I'm sure we're going to hear about all week ad nauseum. We want to hear from you in the chat. Smash that like button. But first and foremost, Frank Sanders, what happened in those final seconds and how inexcusable is that from your franchise quarterback?
Look, we got so close. I mean, literally so close from keeping the drive going and controlling our own destiny to the situation where you look at it and you say, man, Kyler, if you realize it's 4th and 1 and you need a first down, or it's 4th and inches and you need a first down, you need to just kind of push the pile. The defensive line would not be ready, and then you go from there. But at the end of the day, you give yourself a chance by bringing a kicker in the game that you brought onto the roster early parts of this week.
Yeah,
he has a job to do, and he didn't do his job, and he didn't get it done. And so, therefore, it's a disappointing loss for the Arizona Cardinals. Of course, as Arizona Cardinals fans, Mike Bidwell, again, 0-9 in our own stadium. That's not a good feeling in itself. And we came up short again on a good game. The guys had a great game plan. It felt that way. It wasn't great the first quarter. But after that, we can say that we were in the ball game. We gave ourselves a chance. We didn't beat ourselves. We didn't throw interceptions. We didn't turn the ball over. It wasn't a bunch of penalties out there on our offensive line, on the defensive side of the ball. But we just came up short with a field goal kick that went wide right.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, Kyler Murray, I didn't think played his best game. He obviously missed Zach Ertz late in the game, but he did do a nice job in the second half. The Cardinals really, every time they touched the ball from the second quarter on, put together purposeful drives without the likes of James Conner and Darrell Williams. And unfortunately, it's going to come down to nobody's going to remember that. Nobody's going to remember any of the heroics getting them down in field goal range. They're going to remember the blunder on third down. And in the moment, Frank Sanders, I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's run a play now on third down. I didn't even realize what was happening. But I think, you watch Kyler Murray take off, and that's where people get frustrated, where it's like it's 3rd and 1 and he slides that play before. Had he run and gotten tackled, he picks up the first down. So we're going to hear from him later on, Brack live from State Farm Stadium. But Frank, it's probably one of those instances in which Kyler Murray probably thought he had the first down, and he had a new set of downs. I'm going to clock it on first down, but somebody should have grabbed him, whether it's his teammates or Cliff Kingsbury. He didn't have the timeout because of the Jalen Thompson injury, and said, Kyler, it is 3rd down and 1. We have to run a play here. We need to pick this up. And the clock was ticking, so it's terrible clock management all around. Again, people are going to be on Kyler's ass this week, and he has to shoulder a lot of this blame. And I'm a big Kyler Murray stan, as everybody knows, but you're making $45 million a year. You got to have that situational awareness. You put us in a position to win the game, and at the same time, I don't want it to come down, Frank Sanders, to a journeyman, free agent pickup kicker. I want my quarterback to know that, hey, listen, I got to pick up a first down, or at least attempt to get it, or make a throw or do something. But you gave away a down for free.
Yeah, I make no excuses for Kyler in this window of time. I don't. And like you guys in the chat, there's no excuses to it. Red Sea Nation, 100%. You're absolutely right. There's no excuses to it. You do look at it from you do have two mindsets though. When you start your 2-minute offense and you get things going, you got to say to yourself, what's the yardage that we need to get to just in case we need to kick a field goal? And you say, well, if we get to the 32-yard line, then he has a good chance of doing it. I don't know how many people watched him do what he did in the pregame warm-ups and watch him miss all those things wide right. We fans sitting at home had a chance to watch that and watch the guys on the telecast review that and show that he wasn't doing good in the pregame warm-ups. That information should have definitely been given the clip before that scenario happened. Then you also take the other mindset. Do you go back out and put the ball in Kyler's hand for 4th and 1 and see if we can pull a rabbit out of hat?
I almost felt like at that point I would have rather do that. I don't want to try a 43-yard field goal with a journeyman kicker. And we've gotten some information here. There are people saying in our chat here at PHNX that Cliff was motioning to Kyler Murray to snap the football. Now, we'll see. I'm sure Cliff will fall on the sword regardless, as he should as the head coach. But the stadium sign, as people are pointing out, said 1st and 10. So State Farm Stadium, which has been kind of a nightmarish place for the Cardinals to play, essentially 0-9 in their last 9 home games. It's like nobody was helping Kyler Murray. He didn't help himself, but Cliff Kingsbury, the stadium sign, the officials, it was a disastrous turn of events. And when you take off and you run like that, knowing that you have to come up and potentially spike the football, there's no question in my mind he thought he had the first down.
I would agree with you 100% on that. That's the part where, you say he believes he hasn't, and he realizes fourth down, and he walks off the field directly thinking, well, this is where we are right now, and we got a chance to keep it going by if he makes the field goal. That's what we need to do. It's one of those things that this is going to go back to the NFL. It's going to go back to the stadium people and officials that's running the clock or running the down and distance in that moment. They thought the same thing that Kyler probably thought, but then the realization comes out as 4th and 1. And that's something that, I don't know if we had an opportunity to challenge that moment.
Yeah.
We probably could have, but I don't know if that would have been smart enough to do because we had no timeouts to call that. So the scenario definitely will be discussed consistently and constantly. But guys, we got to go back. The guys gave a hell of an effort in the last moments versus a very good team. And honestly, unfortunately, like we said before, we'll get to that. We'll get to the other part about it, how well the second half turned out for us, and then how, again, in the third and the fourth quarter, how much they just controlled the clock until it got to that moment. So that's going to be talked in length about what Kyler should have did. The kicker should have made the kick at the end of the day, and then giving ourselves a chance, man, to really make those adjustments, going into overtime with this team.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the Cardinals started so slow. They did their best second quarter on to make this a competitive game, but it just kind of goes back to the fact that, you can't be completely inept in the first quarter, offensively and defensively, especially offensively. And listen, I put out a tweet. I'm on Vance Joseph. I did not think the defense played that great in the second half. They were giving up yards on the ground when they couldn't. Where were the 3 and outs? This Philly offense, this game got over in record time. It got over in under 3 hours time because Philadelphia wanted to run the football, and their completions on offense are screen-based, so that's going to keep the clock moving. If you're Vance Joseph, you need to force 3 and outs. I'm sorry, the Cardinals had 3 possessions in the second half, and one of them was in the final 2 minutes of the game. All that to say, Cliff Kingsbury has to be better. The offense looked completely out of sync, dejected again to begin the game. And listen, did I think the offensive line played great? No, but Sean Harlow wasn't a liability at center. Calvin Beecham's played better games, but we talked about it on our halftime show. You should go back and check that out if you haven't already. But Cardinals ran the ball effectively, even when they went down to their third stringer, Eno Benjamin. I think Cliff is going to want so many plays from this game back when you think about there were points to be had and there was a chance to really keep the pressure on Philadelphia early, and you let Philadelphia settle into a groove, especially in the fourth quarter. It just got to a point where they're like, we're just going to run the ball until you can stop us, and they went on it seemed like a 8 or 9 play drive, and so Kyler Murray and company, they had to use their timeouts beforehand. They were behind the 8 ball. Nobody is without fault. Vance, Cliff, Kyler, everybody is to blame today, Frank.
I will say this here. You're going to halftime 14-10 to a team that's the undefeated, the only undefeated team in the NFL at your home, and you walk away only giving up 3 points on the back end of the second half of the quarter with a quarterback that can basically tear you alive with the RPO offense that they run over there. And their defense did not do anything pretty much to stop our offense. We just, at the end of the day, we came up short. We got to look at it from that perspective. We're talking about an inch to potentially moving and getting ourselves in a position of getting more downs with at least a little bit less than 20 seconds to go on the clock, keeping the ball in Kyler Murray's hand. It's unfortunate that we came up short, but I mean, we gave ourselves a chance. And that's something I can look back and say, look, we talked about Vance, the bend don't break defense. They only gave up 3 points. We just didn't do anything on the offensive side of the ball to help those guys in that situation. And so that in itself, you can kind of look at it from that perspective, JV, and say, hey, you know what? It wasn't all bad. We had some guys make some plays. Guys started making plays. Kyler missed the throw in the back end. He would love to have back. I'm pretty sure he's the one who will look more at himself and say the things that I could have done better.
I hope he owns it
and
today.
he will.
Absolutely.
He will definitely own it as a leader of the team because he knows he missed that boy Zach Ertz on a corner route that was wide open. That would have kept the drive going. It would have been an easy throw to make, and he just didn't get it done. And then again, looking at the down and distance, do you tell yourself, I got to get to this yardage? Was he of that mindset, or was it the mindset that he had another down and it would have been okay? He had first down. So those are the two questions. I'm pretty sure Bo, one of our top reporters out there who's at the stadium right now, will probably ask if you get a chance to is, number one, what was the mindset you had, Kyler? Was it the yardage that you needed to get to, or number two, did you think you got the first down and so therefore you was ready to keep going, but realizing we was out of timeouts, all we had left was to kick the ball, and he limited himself in that window.
Good comments here. Same crap. Offense don't hold their end of the bargain. Absolutely. You can't expect to win many games in the NFL when you score 17 points. And the defense, listen, I blow Vance Joseph a lot of grief. The defense is averaging under 20 points per game the last 3 weeks.
It's pretty good, man.
I mean, if you
considering
every Cardinal fan would have signed up for 20 points allowed today from Philadelphia. Now, the time of the possession is what killed them because the Cardinals didn't have as many shots offensively. But if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, well, shit, man, make the most of it in the first and second quarter. You can't just keep expecting this team to rise up from the ashes in the second half and rescue your offense. To me, that's the most frustrating part. Get to more of these comments here. Rams lost 2, hopefully a win next week. Yeah, I mean, the season is not over by any means, and hopefully today kind of showed you what this team is capable of. You can make an argument that this was probably their most complete game of the season. It certainly was the closest. Carolina's kind of a throwaway outing last week. I know they won, and they had a bunch of touchdowns in the second half, but this was the most competitive. But that's the problem, Frank Sanders, is in year 4 of the Cliff and Kyler and Keim era together, we shouldn't be at the point where we're getting moral victories. Well, you played with an unbeaten team for 4 quarters. Congratulations. No, you got to win these games.
You do. We can go back and look and say that the Cliff and Keim era it has this wave.
Yeah.
There's good and there's bad, and then some of the good is really good. And again, we can always go back and look at the team that we have. But we got to just be honest with ourselves. We're talking a couple of seconds away from really putting together for me personally, Johnny, everyone at the PHNX Cardinals, PHNX Sports, and you, the fans, would have just been absolutely elated. We walk away with that win, and that's just where we were at because we gave ourselves a chance. At the end of the day, that's all you can ask for, and we just came up short with our kicker, missing it right. And that's the part where everybody does their job, then we win, right? If everybody does their job, we give ourselves a chance to win. And that would have been on the table if our kicker just would have made it and wouldn't have pushed it right.
I will retire these pants at some point, Fitzwade. I hadn't even thought about that. That's unfortunate. I thought these pants were going to go 3-0 on the young season.
I wore white too. Me and Johnny got in the same outfit. But here's another thought though. I tried to put on my former game pants. You guys would have not liked that scene. It would have been ugly. It would have been uglier than the kick. It would have been uglier than the wide right kick. It would have been way uglier than that.
People say, Jose in the chat, to hell with the Rams. They exposed. I mean, they got exposed, but not
did.
by the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals would have loved to expose them. They've got an L right now. And here's the unfortunate thing, too. If you're kind of stacking up the victories here, Cardinals are now 1-2 in the conference. I mean, this does not help at the end of the year when you're looking at tiebreakers. The conference itself has this gluttony of teams. There's a bunch of teams now that think they're competitive. Saints, everybody in the NFC East. People are saying we should have signed Specs, the other kicker. I agree. I wanted no part of watching Amendola kick a field goal. Was there ever good in the Cliff era? Only one playoff game, and it was one of the worst ever. I would say, Sean, a lot of people share your frustrations. Yeah. They did start, 10-2 last year. That was the peak of it. Unfortunately, though, since then, Frank Sanders, they have not been a great team. IMD2, no kicker should miss 43-yard kick. I agree with that, especially in a dome, but that's why it falls on Keim. Pretty sure there was other free agent kickers who would have made that. And I also think that the Cardinals did not want him kicking a 43-yard field goal. It comes down to the fumbled opportunity, no pun intended, and the spiking of the ball on third down. I don't even think he probably thought he was coming into the game at that point, and so he was flustered. Now, they iced him, and it worked, but he had an opportunity to compose himself, but they probably firmly wanted to get him inside the 40. The kick wasn't really even close. I mean, he was missing those. They said, the broadcast team said he was missing those in warm-up, and he missed it to the exact same side. So he missed that kick, according to Chaza in the chat in pregame. So I'd like to see his ass cut this week, get somebody else in there.
He's definitely going.
You're not going to be able to come back and face that locker room when you're asked to do one thing and make a field goal. I hate special teams. You got one job, bro. Absolutely. But, I mean, it's a compounding issue. It's a complete loss today. The defense had errors. They had miscues. That Dallas Goedert play on 3rd and 16. Dennis Gardeck could not make a tackle, right? The defense did not force any turnovers. Frank Sanders is struggling over here. And then the offense, 17 points. How many times are you going to win in the NFL, Frank Sanders, when you're scoring 17 points, especially against an undefeated team?
Look, you fight. You battle, you give yourself a chance. It's the bottom line. Now, it ain't always pretty. And then there's some beautiful victories where you can go and change the channels and cut on the Netflix after the second quarter because your team is winning by so much. And sometimes it doesn't happen that way. We're still trying to figure ourselves out again. You're talking about a free agent kicker And unfortunately, he didn't do his job well today. That's probably why he's a free agent. And so they brought him in, gave him a chance, and hopefully, in a perfect world, in a perfect scenario, in the last 2 minutes of the offense, he never gets on the field. Only to kick an extra point from the standpoint that we needed because we scored a touchdown. That's a perfect world, perfect scenario. Our team played our ass off today, guys. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Certain members of the team.
I mean, well, Hollywood Brown looked great.
Yeah,
Kyler had good moments. What I'm saying, and my man AJ Green, microphone check on AJ Green.
All right,
microphone check on AJ Green. Pick up. Look, I'm just saying, like that's the part where you look at it from that perspective that your team went out and played a good team. They held one of the number one quarterbacks in the NFL to just 17 points in itself. And so that's not a bad situation. Our defense, unfortunately, I will agree with Johnny 100%. From the middle of the third quarter to during their 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, they held that ball. And we had no answers for that. Time of possession.
Philadelphia got 35 to Arizona's 25.
And so that literally was like a 10-minute. You're talking about running a 4-minute offense. They ran a 10-minute offense on ball control without really any penalties on behalf of the Arizona Cardinals to keep the drive going. And so they worked it against us, and we had no answers for that. That's something that we got to look at. That's when you look at your defensive line and you say you guys are not beefy. We'll go back and watch some of the plays. Me and Johnny's here at the house. We're checking some stuff out of the office. And guess what? We saw Zaven Collins out of position. We saw a couple of guys out of position when they was running the ball where they could have been. So those are things they got to go back and look at on the film on Monday.
It's one of those things where you drafted, and we're going to talk about this ad nauseum, and people are probably tired of hearing about it. Like, you took 2 first-round inside linebackers, and you can't stop the run when the game's on the line. I mean, what the fuck are we doing? Like, Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons. Now, I know they stifled them in the red zone, but you've got Dennis Gardeck on their all-pro, Pro Bowl tight end, Dallas Goedert. Why isn't Isaiah Simmons on him? Why isn't Zaven Collins on him? You've got an undrafted outside free agent linebacker. I mean, like, those are the questions Cardinal fans should be asking, and I think they are asking Frank Sanders, because when push comes to shove, like, the Cardinals' strength of their team should be able to combat what we're seeing from Philadelphia. They had athletes in the middle of the field. They ran screen games, right? So if you figure, okay, we have these 2 supremely gifted inside linebackers, they ought to be able to wipe all of that bullshit out. Like, you couldn't do that on peak San Francisco 49ers with Bowman and Willis. You couldn't do that with KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner in Seattle. Like, the Cardinals theoretically are built to stop what Philadelphia wants to do, but then we saw all the flaws in that final drive where the Eagles literally made them. I mean, just
but we're theoretically good enough to stop from sideline to sideline, but not in the middle. Not in the middle.
But we took 2 inside linebackers in the first round.
You took them, but they're sideline to sideline guys. Just be honest with it, and you can go back and look at their film. And again, Isaiah Simmons need to put on another 20 before we really had a conversation on what kind of linebacker he is. He's a hybrid guy, and we get to use him at different positions for that particular purpose because he can do that. But outside of that, when we look at our D-line, these guys are really Fandango-like guys that you can move around and let these guys kind of try to get at the quarterback.
So Cliff Kingsbury commenting at the press conference now via our own Bo Brack, he said that we thought we had picked up the first down. The problem with that, Cliff, is the chains probably would have moved in that instance. So it's like, maybe get with the officials and make sure, like, officials can take a timeout for a measurement. Ask for an official's timeout. I don't accept that answer. I agree that they thought that was what was happening. Cliff thought that. Kyler thought that. Probably the players thought that. And then the chains didn't move. And then I didn't even have – I've seen it once, guys. I haven't even had a chance to digest the replay of what exactly took place. But everybody assumed that, especially – the brass for the Cardinals, the top 2 people on this franchise during game day, Cliff and Kyler, they thought they had picked up the first down. We'll have more comments from Cliff via Bo Brack as the show continues, but I want to remind everybody, so we're having a tough time right now. Things will get better, and it's going to get better with Four Peaks. We've got some cool events planned in the works with our friends at Four Peaks, the official brewery of PHNX. We've got the Wow Wheat in front of us. We've got the citrus ale.
That's how we felt, though.
It's on tap.
It's like, wow.
It needs to be on tap after that god-awful performance at the end of the game. Stay tuned for more information, guys. You got to be 21 and older. Enjoy it responsibly. And then also Underdog Fantasy. Listen, I thought this was a game that Kyler Murray statistically was going to have his best game of the year. We are still waiting for that robust Kyler Murray game from a passing, rushing standpoint. But if you bet on the under via Underdog Fantasy, you're in good place. You can search in the App Store, click on the link in the show notes, sign up with the promo code PHNX, and Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $100. I deposited $100. I got an additional $100. That's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code PHNX. Let's get back to some of your comments here. Ryan in the chat, I can't keep pretending D-Hop will magically solve all of our problems. It's just not true, Frank Sanders.
Look, D-Hops will add, and he will solve a lot of our problems. Because
not all of them, though.
Well, one of the guys in the chat earlier said, look, the defense played stellar today. And outside of the first game versus Kansas City, our defense have played pretty decent. Honestly, you got to look at the teams they played. They've kind of held them together a little bit. The Rams the Rams did some things to us, but our offense is where it is right now. And D-Hops will make a tremendous difference to that because it would isolate some situations where teams have the power to double team and triple team guys and try to take away our strengths. Look, Hollywood Brown went off today. They moved him around. That was absolutely fabulous to see. And I thought that was good. You scroll back down a little bit. Frankie Romero, I believe, at the chat. Frankie?
Yeah.
Frankie Romero? Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Thank you for you said you had a super chat before we left. That was a $10 super chat.
Yes, appreciate that, my good man.
Appreciate that. Thank you so very much for that. And again, look, we will get better. And he asked a question that was this here. If they had challenged to play, would it have been any time runoff?
Well,
that's in that moment.
They had it's under 2 minutes. They did not have any timeouts. They could not challenge the play. It was a snap, wham, bam judgment.
It had to happen
and the
immediately.
officials said, nope, you did not get the first down. And there is probably 25 seconds, 20 seconds at that point. It's not like you have a ton of time to speak with the officials.
Right.
I mean, here's the biggest problem. Kyler Murray has to be 100% sure he's got that first down.
I agree.
And I know we're trying to keep Kyler Murray healthy for the duration of the season. It's a long year, 17 games, but it's under 2 minutes now. And I'm sure in hindsight he would redo this, but let's not slide. Let's just run as hard as we can, as fast as we can, get tackled, and get the first down. He gave himself up a yard too soon.
But that's the tweener between, I dive, they jump on top of me, they keep me on the pile, they hold me down. Now listen to me. That's what happens. I dive, I get tackled, they lay on top of me, now I have no time to really get up and spike the ball because now I lost that much time. I don't know what happens on the pile could take 5 seconds to 15 seconds. Trust me, that's how that works out, but just because if the other team knows that. Then he has to say, if I give up myself, then if I get the first down and I give up, then immediately I get a chance to run back. No one tackled me. I run back and set the ball. I can set the ball and then spike the ball, and then therefore I can immediately stop the clock. That's another opportunity. And so in your mindset, those are the things that you kind of got to work through, but they're happening in milliseconds of the game. Now, do we do situational football? Absolutely. We practice it consistently. Our Thursdays is specific for days like this. When it's third down, it's red zone. Excuse me. We're running 2-minute offense, 1-minute offense, 4-minute offense. So we're doing situational entire Thursday. So I know he knew that. So that's why you say no timeouts, guys.
Yeah.
Get to a certain spot, get down. If you get the first down, it's great. You got a chance to call some more plays. It automatically stops the clock. You can go to the sideline or you can listen to Cliff and call a play. He has time, 25 seconds to get a play inside of you. You have a certain amount of time to get the play off. You can go from there. We think if we get it at 20 seconds, we got at least 2 to 3 plays we can run and then potentially get to the kicking game at a little shorter distance.
I like the positivity in the chat. Cardinals up to A.J. Brown was held to 3 catches, 32 yards,
Excellent.
And 2 catches came on the Eagles' first drive. Byron Murphy was fantastic.
You said they would be special. You was looking forward to our defensive backs having a game like that.
I'm high on the Cardinals' defensive backs.
And they look great.
Jalen, hopefully he's okay. We haven't heard word yet one way or the other. If you guys let us know, that would be great. Buddha looked fantastic.
Yep.
Marco gets picked on, but everybody's number 2 corner gets picked on. And then Byron was fantastic. Again, I go back to the front 7 just allowing kind of back-breaking runs at the end of the game. And the Cardinals, listen, we talked about it ad nauseum. They got to make a move for a pass rusher. A defensive tackle, an outside linebacker. Marcus Golden right now is not right. Dennis Gardeck is limited athletically. I know he had a good week last year against Carolina, but everybody does against Baker Mayfield. Devon Kennard had no tackles today. Hollywood Brown had 1 tackle as a receiver. after Kyler Murray's interception. Devon Kennard, to me, is a wasted
Stop.
roster spot. No, that's what happened. Myzay Sanders thankfully got some snaps, but this is a team right now, like, trade deadline's 3 weeks away. You got to help this pass rush.
Hollywood had one tackle,
DK had no tackles. This pass rush is ass right now, and it's not going to get solved internally. It's got to get solved externally. Bring some help in. So again,
he had one more tackle.
He did. He had one more tackle.
We had the same amount of stats. Colin, man.
Me and
you and DK got the same kind of stats.
Did you see Devon Kennard one time today?
Nah,
he was out there playing, but I didn't see him. He was out there playing. Isaiah Simmons, 13 tackles, led the team. That's encouraging. Byron Murphy, 9 tackles. How do you think Isaiah Simmons played today? Good, great, average?
Average. I thought average at best.
I
mean, there's moments in that he seems to kind of want to play very fast, play in the scenario where he can be that dog. I think he hasn't learned that yet, though, guys. I got to be honest. Like, I just don't see that out of him. Some guys, like on the defensive side of the ball, you don't have to coach Buddha. Buddha's probably 5'9", 10, all 185 to maybe 185, 195 pounds. But you don't have to coach Buddha on coming downhill and smash mouthing. He'll sacrifice his body. He gives his body.
Simmons doesn't have
he only knows one thing: torpedo mode, go get. That's all he knows. I don't see that out of Simmons every time. I don't see him take on offensive linemen like that. I don't see him do that. And again, that's I don't have full visual of the cameras like we do when we're in film study, watching the things that matter, technique. When we watch what you were told on game in our game plan sessions on where to be and how to be. When you saw that, what you're supposed to do. That's the stuff we kind of get to when you get down to the brass tacks of everything. Right now, this is, that's the stuff we got to get to.
Ryan H. in the chat, I've been saying this for 6 months, my guy. We need more dogs. Got to find him on the edge. I think got to find him all over this roster. I mean, they don't have too many dogs. I think their dogs that they have, they don't
HB
play.
Look like a dog.
They don't play they
HB.
don't play the wrong positions, but they don't play up front on the line of scrimmage. Now Zach Allen is a dog. He's been fantastic. A little disappointed. Watt had kind of the throwaway hurry up, but would have loved to see more from J.J. Watt today. No sacks.
But it looked like they went after him, though.
They did, but I mean,
they
had no left tackle. They had no left guard.
Right.
Jason Kelsey left the game. I mean, Jason Kelsey coming back in the second half and gutting it out made a huge difference. I saw somebody say, would Odell Beckham help this team? I think they would love to have him. Number one, I don't think they would pay for him, and I think Odell has other suitors, and we'll see. Odell is going to come back, and he's going to have his choice, and he's going to want to pick a team that's in it. Are the Cardinals going to be in it in November? We hope so. They're going to get DeAndre Hopkins back. Anthony Totri in the chat. I'm a dog. I'll play on vets minimum. That's one way to go about it. Maybe put the
so just in case anyone wanted to know, Totri is 5'6".
You'd fit right in with our receiving core. I'll tell you that much right now. But it's frustrating. Get to more of some of these comments in the chat. We don't need a pass rusher. Kime drafted 2. Oh, wait, those guys aren't even dressing on game day. Well, they dressed today, but to your point, my friend, that is every reason why this team should be dealing second and third round picks right now to help this team this year win games. I don't care about the salary cap. I don't care about the logistics. They're not good enough in about 5 spots right now, outside linebacker being one of them. I mean, the Cardinals, if it wasn't for Zach Allen, I mean, they get gashed up and down this entire game. I mean, Zach Allen was a one-man wrecking crew, and then, Frank, it was the DBs that were filling on the edge with Byron and Jalen and Buddha. It's everybody else in the middle. It was like, I thought Zaven Collins had made a lot of progress last week. I thought he took a step back today. I did not see enough from 25.
I agree with you, especially when you have a team that's coming downhill with you.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the run-pass option, the RPO between, and having a quarterback that can actually execute that, most linebackers tend to hesitate a little bit. But just getting that extra grunt in would have been a little bit more, it would have been more visual to see if you'd have saw that out of Zaven today. It was not pretty. And so I agree with you guys. We need to have a little bit more grunts in our guys up front. They're moving them around. Vance Joseph defense goes from a 3-4 to a 4-5 to a 4-2 to a 4-4, and it moves things around. I think without a doubt, when you heard Jalen Hurst audibling and changing the play at the line of scrimmage, it was specifically toward particular people on our defense, and the guys that have been balling have been J.J. Watt, has been Zach Allen. We could run easily we could easily run to the other guys on our team and know that. And so that's the part where, like I said, we'll go back and watch the film. You guys get a chance to go back and watch it if you can watch it on the rewind the show, and not just the show but the game, and you'll see the little things that we've been talking about on the show today.
Maximus in the chat with a very accurate statement. Cliff has straight up lied, saying Moore wouldn't affect Dortch's snaps. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's evident. He does not play now after really helping carry this offense each of the first 3 weeks. Now, what I will say is A.J. Green looked better in the second half. Rondale Moore looked more comfortable going downfield when they stopped doing the rinky-dink horizontal cutesy shit. But I think Greg Dortch has a place on this offense. The problem, though, is that right now the Cardinals are so limited with what they want to do without DeAndre Hopkins, and then they lose two backs today in Darrell Williams and James Conner. It's you probably want to lean more into the guys that have been in this offense for 4 years, and that's where Rondale for the last 2 years, A.J. Green for the last 2 years. You obviously can't take Hollywood out. I don't know. It's one of those things where the offense, I would do and throw everything at the kitchen sink because, again, 2 touchdowns a week, and that's what roughly they're averaging, Frank Sanders, is going to get you beat. You're going to get beat more often than not.
We're going to have to do better.
Touchdowns a game.
Yeah, we're going to have to do much better than that. And you can only see that we will get better. I can see that. In my mind, I think that the guys are getting better. We're watching Hollywood Brown. They move guys around different and put them in different positions. We saw different formations in the second quarter and all the way down to the end of the game. We saw different formations. Yeah. So it definitely freed us some stuff. Johnny was literally here calling plays, man, on stuff to do. He was like, this is a great time for a quarterback run.
Well, why didn't they do it more often?
You know what? That's the part where
don't do it when you know that you'll have no timeouts and that you have to hurry up with the drive. Here's the perfect encapsulation of this Cardinal team. They, at the end of the first half, had a chance to score a touchdown, and the clock worked against them, and they were inefficient. And at the end of the game, they had a chance to score a touchdown, or at the very least kick a field goal, and they were inefficient.
Yeah.
And who does that fall on? That's Cliff, and that's Kyler. Super chat, thank you, Frank, $1.99. More screen passes are killing me. Please stop it, Cliff. It looked like he got away from that in the second half.
But watch this here, though, guys. So I agree, but I also have to disagree with this conversation only because maybe we're not designing our screenplays the right way because Philadelphia Eagles had no problem with it. Like, they caught at least 9 to 10 screenplays. Tight end caught screenplays. Running back caught screenplays. Multiple receivers caught screenplays, and they were effective for 6 to 10 yards. And I'm just saying, maybe we're not. Maybe it's not the right. Maybe it's not schematically the right way to do it. The way we're trying to do it with receivers blocking, but they had linemen that went out to the flats and made blocks and cut back. And so those are the things that sometimes we got to look at. Again, I'm not a fan of what we're doing, Rondale Moore. I think we definitely need to move up the field. In the chat, when you're talking
2 yards.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Gregory. What's the stats?
2 carries minus 7 yards.
And again, it's a waste of talent.
Now
he runs a 4.3. It makes no sense for us to keep him in that position doing that. And I think that's the sad part about it. Really do.
The Cardinals just can't convert in the red zone right now. And last year, it was very much predicated on James Conner in between the tackles. You had a beautiful mix of both he and Chase Edmonds, and then you had D-Hop on third down. I mean, all of those entities were gone in the second half. I think they have been too reliant on Zach Ertz and Hollywood Brown. I think that coming into the season, they wanted to diversify. They wanted to build an infrastructure where the offense couldn't shrink like it did at the end of last year. Mm-hmm. And the problem, Frank, is we've picked up kind of where we've left off. I mean, we have not seen that high-flying Arizona Cardinal offense since about, I don't know, week 13, week 12 of last year.
Last year, the conversation was they had a standard. And the standard was that they thought they can put 30 points on anybody up to 40 points. And they never hit the 40-point threshold, but that was the goal. That was this team's goal because they saw the talent they had. Now, I would say this here. We started the season off with D-Hops, and we had D-Hops, we had Zach Ertz, and we had Hollywood Brown, and we had Rondale Moore, then we had James Conner. Look, you got height, you got size, you got speed, you got experience, and all of that. And then that probably would have put us in a position where we thought that, we could probably consider controlling offense and we'd average 25 to 40 points a game. But we're not there yet. And I think that's the part where some of those things come out and play. But this team is in the right direction. One of the guys in the chat stated that we're in the right direction. This would have been a great win for the Arizona Cardinals. Not just a home win. That's special in itself, JV, but it would have been a great win just because we thought we had already we moved in a better direction in regards to moving from playing the Carolina Panthers on the road, coming home with a victory on our chest, and feeling like we could have pulled out a victory with a team that wasn't all there together with the injuries that they had.
Looks like we've got some behind-the-scenes footage, locker room footage that producer Emma is going to cue up here. I think it's of Justin Pugh. Emma, go ahead and roll the tape.
That's not one fucking guy. I missed a block. You missed touchdowns. we should have the ball and been able to score. It's not on one fucking guy. Everyone's waiting around for one guy to come back here. This fucking ain't right. It's not right. All right? It's not on one fucking guy.
I agree with that because Justin Pugh makes top 3 money on this Cardinal team or top 5 money or whatever it is. The Cardinals did not lose because of a street free agent kicker. Does it suck that this is his only opportunity with the team? He's going to be cut and he blew it at the end of the game? Absolutely. Cliff Kingsbury didn't coach well enough. Kyler Murray could have played better. The defensive line could have played better. There were no takeaways by the Cardinals. They had a bunch of missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Now, however, I mean, you're paid to make a kick, and we emphasize that it's the only thing we ask of you. Please go do it. And he didn't do it. Saul Bookman, the GM in the chat, I thought Rondell played better because he was being utilized better. It's almost like Cliff unlocked something in the second half. Rondell maybe getting more comfortable in the secondary, striding downfield.
It's just them. It's plays.
Well, it's funny because he's second on the team today in receiving yards with 68 yards, and I think he had negative yards to begin the second half. So he made up for that.
But it's yak. Most of it's coming from his
What
yak.
you see
When he
his
checks,
explosiveness and what he can do.
And he looks so good, man. I'm pretty sure anybody in the league would love to have a Rondell Moore with his abilities. We're not utilizing him yet. Hopefully he'll get better with that. And I agree with Saul. Look, I thought he played better today. I think that we need to stop trying to do the wrinkle stuff with him and just literally either isolate him and every now and then go, 2 tight ends and then let him and Ron Hollywood on one side of the ball do what they need to do. You could do that with this offense because we have a new tight end that we can add to the bunch, and that's Trey McBride, who hopefully we'll be able to utilize him a little bit down there.
The frustrating thing with this team, and I'll focus on offense still, is they just look so unprepared. Kyler looks unprepared.
No.
Cliff looks unprepared. They don't score points in the first quarter, Frank. That to me is like get your best 10 to 12 plays and you say, this is what we're going to roll with this week. They're going to be effective. And it literally is unwatchable. The first quarters for the Cardinals this year offensively and parts of it defensively, but let's focus on the offense, have been unwatchable. That to me is like preparation Monday through Saturday is not good enough. And that's where the heat, because everybody tells us, and we hear it, Cardinal fans hear it, Cardinals have athletes. They've got players and they can athlete their way into wins like they did last week against Carolina, against an inferior team, and they can athlete their way into close losses like this. But the NFL is such an intellectual game where coaching makes such a difference. And that is the microcosm right now, unfortunately, of the Cliff Kingsbury era, is you're in a division with Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Pete Carroll. And that one extra incentive, or I guess the one extra bit of knowledge and wherewithal and coaching smarts makes the difference. And it exposes Cliff Kingsbury, and he got exposed today. Now, I don't love Philadelphia's coach. I don't, but they're 4-0, and they've got some things rolling. Like, you got to make me feel good about the fact that Cliff Kingsbury can outwit somebody, and no one has confidence that he can do that right now.
He has the players. Sometimes it doesn't matter about the wits when you got the players and the players make the plays. The way we lost the game, I can accept. I agree with Saul. I can accept that loss. And I don't want to accept it from the standpoint there's so many pros and cons to outside of the kicker. The pros and cons, as we talked about a little bit earlier, was that if Kyler slides, what's the mentality he has in this scenario? Am I looking for yardage? Okay, if I slide, then I can jump up with no one tackling me and go and set the ball down. If I dive for the first down and I get tackled, they can jump on top of me and literally hold me down for 5 to 10 seconds, which is another runoff. That could be a problematic. And then still, at the end of the day, I still got to lead to a kicker with no timeouts on our behalf. So that becomes another scenario. And so, but there are things that we will improve on and hopefully get better. Like, we don't start good right now, but hopefully, and I always say this here, every offensive player pretty much hates the first 12 plays of the game that's scripted, because that's what we do. And we do it intentionally with the intent to find out when we get into certain formations what the defense is going to do and what they're going to show us. And then the next second, you saw the difference in the second quarter. We switched our entire offense around, moved guys around, put them in different positions, and they didn't have any answers for that, and we went down the field and we scored. And that's the offense you want to see. Hopefully, we'll get better at that, and we'll see that more in the first quarter than we will having to wait to fill the game out.
Totri in the chat, at what point does Cliff look in the mirror and relinquish play calling duties? Be the call, right? Move, and I think it earned him some respect. If Cliff Kingsbury is not calling plays here, what is he doing here? That's my question. You sold this fan base on the fact this is some offensive savant that put up 700 yards per game at Texas Tech. couldn't stop a nosebleed defensively. That's why you brought Vance Joseph in. If you're going to relinquish play calling duties from Cliff Kingsbury, then you might as well make Vance Joseph a head coach, because he doesn't do anything for me. Cliff should be here. He should be your Andy Reid or your Sean Payton or your Kyle Shanahan. Those guys call plays. Now, you can have people underneath that you groom into positions where they become head coaches, but the Cardinals haven't done that, coincidentally. So Cliff Kingsbury needs to call plays unless he's not the head coach anymore. Because I can't get on board with Cliff is not a CEO. Cliff is not a CEO.
Cliff will be our coach.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's getting fired.
I can't say he's always exceptional in his job, but he's going to be our coach. And the reason why is because we got the players.
Unless they showed that they were quitting on Cliff Kingsbury, which they did not do today.
And I don't think they're going to show that. You know why? Because we have some voices right now that are non-quitters. We have that in K1. We have that in Hollywood, who just got here.
Justin Pugh.
We got that in Justin Pugh. You saw him walk out there, man, and absolutely defend the kicker like, hey, I miss blocks, guys miss plays, and it's not on him. So, and that's what he's supposed to do. We're not doing that. But what we are going to do is hopefully he'll get better, and the players will come back and they'll get better. We got some young guys in positions. We got some guys that are injured in positions that shouldn't be there. And on the defense, there's no answer for that, because that's exactly who we got. We went through the offseason with these guys. We drafted nobody to replace those guys. We didn't go out and really do free agent signing on those dogs. But our defense is not the problem. I agree with you 100%. We got to do a better job of starting. And they'll figure – I hope that I'm saying this as a guy who played with the Arizona Cardinals, and we had horrible starts.
Yeah. Your mom in the chat, if Prater misses the kick, do we blame Cliff or Matt, or who makes if the kicks, especially from that range? I would say this is a very specific instance. Matt
Prater, your mom?
No, it's not my mom.
It's not your mom?
No. Matt Prater was paid a premium last year, made a lot of big kicks for this team, helped them win a lot of games last year, especially early in the season, a lot of clutch kicks. This guy, street free agent, making nothing, I think ideally was only here to kick extra points. The problem is the Cardinals offense shit the bed and didn't score enough touchdowns. Yeah. They scored 2 touchdowns in this game.
Let me be honest. In the locker room, we're going to say that. We're going to say that the kicker's not the problem. The kicker didn't. No, do your damn job. I'm with Johnny. I'm not a fan of kickers. I don't want to give the ball to the kicker. But he has a job to do. Do your job. Bottom line. That's not on Cliff, because Cliff didn't kick the field goal. We gave you an opportunity. We got to a number that's legible, for a good number that's good for you. We went at the 52 asking you to kick a 67-yard field goal. We got to one and we saw you can kick it. You just missed it. Bottom line. That's absolutely it. So anything else between what Kyler could have done, should have done in the third, fourth, none of that shit matters, because at the end of the day, we gave ourselves a chance to do something. Now, that part sucked. And that's just keeping it 100, because there's nothing else we could do. If he makes the kick, it changes the narrative. And now we're going into overtime. Now we get another figure out what we're doing on defense. The defense stopped those guys from scoring. The hypotheticals get bigger and bigger and ambiguous, so we point more fingers at a whole bunch of other people. At the end of the day, the bottom line goes to the kicker missed the field goal, which didn't give us a chance to go to overtime. I got everything to that point. We did everything to get to this point to give ourselves a chance, and he missed that chance. And more likely, like Saul would say, get the motherfucker out of here. And that's what's probably going to happen.
Let's focus on some good news. So we've got some comments here post-game. It sounds like Jalen Thompson is going to be okay. He had the wind knocked out of him. Would not have been surprised had he come back in the game. Had walked it off on the sideline and then just said in the post-game presser that he had the wind knocked out of him. That's good news. It looked like initially something maybe was wrong with his rib cage. He's an indispensable player, as we saw. He's playing at a Pro Bowl level. I mean, I don't think this is a hot take. I think he's playing better than any defensive back on this roster, including Budda Baker, and that's not a knock on Budda. Saul Bookman, 100% right. He was missing those kicks and warm-ups, and that's where I have an issue with this comment here from Cliff Kingsbury in the post-game presser. He said that they were shooting for a field goal in that range anyway. I am not shooting for a field goal 40 to 45 yards with this street free agent kicker. I am trying to press the ball downfield. At the easiest chance, I want to be able to have a 35-yard field goal or better. The Cardinals had runners in the secondary. Zach Ertz was open. They had chances to hit big plays. They were gouging them. The Eagles survived the second half. They won the game. But, the Cardinals beat themselves. The Cardinals beat themselves at the end of the first half. Too many miscues, mental errors. And I think that's most frustrating, Frank Sanders, is if you're a fan of this team, it's like the game was there to be won. The play calling was bad early. If they were effective running the football, which they were, they should have leaned into it more. They didn't. And then in the second half, it was like the defense couldn't get off the field, and then the offense got a couple opportunities and converted. But then, they ran out of time. But I tell you right now, I am not running out of time at using my favorite app when it comes to buying tickets. So for all you procrastinators out there, I hope you dabbled today, but we got a home game in 2 weeks. I want to see you there against the Saints. We got a tailgate, by the way, at that event. Check out Game Time. You can save up to 60% on your tickets when you buy last minute. I know people who are getting tickets on the cheap, on the reg today. It's great for you procrastinators out there. Get in on the action. If you're like me, I don't like buying tickets 2-4 months out in advance. I like buying tickets the week of. I'm dabbling. I want to see what's available. And a lot of us think there's this stigma of like, well, they're going to be super expensive. No, people on Game Time are looking to give you a deal. And the best way to support us is by buying your tickets through the link in the description below. So we're excited about Game Time. We're also excited about OGs. OGs, my man Frank Sanders. You've dabbled before in the OGs.
Love the OGs. They help me tremendously, honestly. As a former player, we always try to get rid of the opioid lifestyle of taking pills and over-counter pills and something like that.
Yeah.
But the OGs, man, is absolutely perfect. It relaxes me, allow me to kind of just chill out. Certain flavors. Of course, you always know my pina colada and that orange creamsicle. Delicious.
They are great. They just did something that totally changed the game. They just launched their brand new Sleep Edition gummy. You won't want to sleep on these. You guys see what I did there? And you heard that right. We're flavoring dreams with OGs, 2-to-1 THC CBN ratio gummy. CBN is a compound that helps specifically with falling and staying asleep. Listen, I'm going to need help falling asleep after this game. I have nightmares about this game. And frankly, this Sleep Edition gummy is the new aquaberry flavor. Love that. We highly recommend you check out OGs online at ogbrands.com and on Instagram, OG Brands. You can find their products at your local dispensary. You got to be 21 or older to partake and purchase. We're waiting from Bo Brock here at State Farm Stadium. Producer Emma, what do you got for us?
I do have an update from Bo Brock. Okay. He is just waiting on one more player. That's Kyler Murray.
Oh, we got to hear from Kyler.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick in the chat, a couple people said something. Let's talk about this here. I'm not blaming the kicker. It's your job. There's no title next to you. There's no hyphen beside kicker. There's no hyphen / quarterback / GM / nothing else. You're the kicker. You get one. You got a job to do. I don't care if they pay you $100,000 or $200 million. If he makes that kick, we don't know if he gets a longer contract. We don't know how long Prater's out. So if he has 2 or 3 more weeks to make more money, instead of talking about what Kyler did, it's actually irrelevant. Your job is one job, and someone pointed it out. He missed the same kick or a game-winning opportunity. But again,
I'd be putting alarms on. Don't fucking touch him during the game. If he looks like garbage, then I'm just saying we got to score touchdowns.
And so that's what you got to say. That would have been more helpful to say at the end of the day and say, hey, Kyler, we're not kicking a field goal because he's not making them. He's missing them in preseason. He's missing them in pre-games. We can't trust him.
Somebody said he's missed a 34-game winner against the Chiefs. I
and
remember that.
And so they got rid of him. That's what I'm saying.
He should not have a job in the NFL, and that's on Steve Keim for employing him.
So
let's get to the super chat here. Thank you so much, Frank. At least
Frank.
Defense always gives us a chance to win.
And I agree 100%. They didn't. Again, Johnny was absolutely right. The time of possession is 35 minutes to Philadelphia Eagles.
I know,
but it's 35 minutes to them and 25 minutes to us, and that's a lot. But we really lost. They had the ball 8 to 9 minutes going out of the third quarter into the fourth quarter, all the way down to 2 minutes in the game. That's a lot. Our defense should have done something better. I said it coming out of the break. Out of our halftime. My show was basically it was a bend don't break. The defense gave up 3 points. Like that's hella amazing to realize you only gave up 3 points.
This is the least amount of points the Eagles have scored all season. Their previous low was 24. And last week I think it was in a monsoon in Philadelphia. So it's impressive what Vance Joseph did today. I'm disappointed. I want this team, and it's a stigma. Like the Cardinals are, I think, Frank Sanders, playing over their athletic attributes defensively. The Cardinals' offense is underperforming, grossly underperforming. When you talk about a quarterback who's making $45 million a year, you're talking about a number 1 wide receiver, a number 1 tight end, a Pro Bowl running back. You paid all these offensive linemen. Rodney Hudson's out today again, right? DJ Humphries is paid a premium. I think it's a combination of just like ineptitude with play calling early in games, the adjustments, there's nothing more demoralizing than coming into a game and feeling like you're behind the 8 ball from a coaching standpoint.
This is where we really stink at. We can all be honest about this here on offense. The red zone. We're just not scoring points. Like we're not throwing the ball. We're not turning over. This is not, Matt Ryan as our quarterback or somebody who has, Sam Darnold or, your boy Baker Mayfield throwing picks. Kyler's not throwing stupid picks. I mean, of course, the one in the first quarter, but he's not leading the lead in throwing interceptions. So we got to be honest with ourselves about that, okay? But in reality, we're just not – we're horrible in that 10-yard into the end zone, red zone area that we're horrible at. And we don't have no answers for that right now. And that's what Cliff really has to figure out, what's the best plays to call. And again, and that is some stuff that is just where we're not really making up those points and giving our defense those added points we need to have. And so when we fix that, that'll be something we can look back over the next couple of weeks, and we'll look back here and say we got better. And that's what's most important.
Here are the Cardinal point totals from the first 5 games of the season: 21, 29, 20, 26, 17. So this was their low for the year, and I would say I'd be remiss if I didn't say their high for the year, 29 against the Raiders. They had a defensive touchdown in that game.
Yeah, so and that's something our defense is not doing like they did last year. In the early parts, our defense had, they literally was putting handcuffs on everybody with a lot of picks, but that's not necessarily necessary as much as we're watching how they're playing against teams outside of, we look at them in the second half or from the second quarter going on into the end of the game. Our defense is doing absolutely fabulous. I'm not going to say that they're excellent. They don't have a whole bunch of takeaways in that area, but they're not losing these games.
No, and we talked about it before the season, and somebody called me out on Twitter, and you're 100% right. Like, I thought the offense was going to have to win shootouts to begin the season for them to be competitive, and it's been the opposite. And for Cliff Kingsbury, fourth-year head coach, that's unacceptable. You know who is exceeding expectations, in my opinion, is Hollywood Brown. He is our DraftKings king of the game. Look at old Hollywood. 8 catches, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. Didn't have enough targets in the second half because the Cardinals didn't have the ball, but has just been sensational.
Looks great.
You just think about that one catch and run that he didn't have on the slant play. He's probably still running. The Cardinals have a lot of issues on offense. Play calling, Kyler's got to be better. Hollywood Brown has been as seamless of a transition.
Yes.
He's going to set career highs this year. He is their number 1 receiver. With or without Diop, they're going to have dual number 1s. I can't wait for it. It's the reason we have a lot of hope for this team, Frank.
He looks great.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Hollywood Brown. I hope he stays healthy because whatever relationship he has right now with Kyler, it looks great.
Yep.
They miss each other every now and then, but what you really catch them doing right now is they're moving him around in different spots. And I love that about what Cliff has done thus far in the last couple of games. And they're giving him a chance. Like, you got to give your guys a chance. Seamless transition was just as good as it was when we brought Zach Ertz here in the middle part of the season. And he just literally ran off with 75 catches, last year. And that was pretty spectacular. I think Hollywood Brown will exceed those numbers. And plus, without a doubt, 1,300 yards should be easy for him. The guys in the chat, Ryan's talking about Gregory Dortch. He's not there. And I don't understand that right now. Hopefully they'll figure out what we need to do with him. And I seen him on the chat one day. He talked about Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And it literally talks about in all you're getting understanding.
I mean,
he has to do his part. Just chill and wait. Yeah, but he just has to chill and wait until it's his time. They got more money invested. He's not playing guys because they have more money invested in Rondale Moore.
And he was
the NFL. Pick. It's the NFL. It doesn't matter if you're first team or second team. It's what money team you're on.
Unless you're Vance Joseph with these young players, then it does matter.
But most of them getting paid. And they're top draft picks. So there's nobody on the team that's not playing that's not top draft picks on the defense. In the NFL, it comes to what money team you're on. If you're in the top echelon, you're gonna get playing time.
Let me ask you this, and I know fans don't want to hear this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Is this a moral win for the Cardinals, given to how poor they started this season, how good the Eagles were, or is this we blew this game and we're pissed about it because we know we're better than them and now we're 2-3?
This is one of those Sigmund Freud's negative reinforcement moments. Because you lost, but yet you can be reinforced with good behavior of saying that you guys played a team that's one of the NFL top teams, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, when we watch film, we look at ourselves and we tell ourselves, we had a chance and we blew it. Did you miss your assignment? Did you not pay attention to the small things in detail? If you don't hold this guy like that, then it's what happens. And so the film will break it down. And as, tedious as the stuff we're talking about in the chat, and the stuff that, Johnny's pointing out, and we're bringing up stuff for 2 games, 3 games ago, all that shit was dealt with in the film room. And the stuff we talked about, trying to overcome your simple facts of missing the stuff that you're supposed to do, your assignments. And so hopefully these guys will go back and they'll look at their assignments and they'll look at what they did right and wrong. And at the end of the day, when these guys figure that out, hopefully they'll get better from that. Is it a moral win? No, hell no, because it's still a loss. But at the end of the day, we can look at our team and say, are we trading in the right direction? Well, we didn't take the first and second quarter to figure it out and just play well in the second half. It took us the second quarter, and then we start making plays and moving guys around.
They're improving in certain ways, absolutely. Like the defense has come a long way. I think the offensive line is playing well. Without Rodney Hudson today, they gave up 1 sack. They ran the ball whenever they wanted to. I really do feel like they were hampered by coaching today. They were hampered by coaching, and then I didn't think Kyler played his best game. The interception early, he missed a couple reads. He wasn't good at the end of the game. Like Kyler and Cliff just have to be better. They're the two that they have the most invested into right now, outside of Steve Keim. So I can't say,
but I look at Cliff, man. So there's moments when I look at Cliff, I think he's 100% involved. Like I think he's involved in trying to get things going. Again, you got a coach that has a quarterback that does miracle stuff.
Yeah,
like he's at abracadabra stuff, and it's the stuff that you don't always expect out of Kyler, but he's capable of it. And so when you're calling your plays and you're trying to stay within rhythm to what you believe the defense is trying to do and game plan against you, you look at your script and you try to call a play, and you want those guys to go out and make it work. The same way you made it work in practice, and that's typically what we do. But then there's some things that happen. So I think he's invested. I think Cliff really is trying to put this thing and get it together, moving in the right direction. There are some pieces that's going to happen that will help us and get us, and it won't take us long for us to get better. It won't take us long for us to figure this thing out. You might see the next game or two when we play in Seattle on the next road game. That might be something where you can only see the improvements.
Let's talk about these next 2 games. I think these are must-wins for the Arizona Cardinals. I feel like you go 3-3 without DeAndre Hopkins. That's a plus. Plus, you play a team that's led by Geno Smith, who's playing good football, but their defense is awful right now. If there's a get-right game for the Cardinals offense right now, it's to go up to Seattle and play that Seattle defense that has been lit up by every quarterback this year on the ground, what Taysom Hill did today. And then in 2 weeks, when we're out at the Lola having a good time at the tailgate Thursday Night Football, when they bring back these black helmets, you got to take care of business against Andy Dalton, and you're bringing back D-Hop. So I do still think there is a clear-cut path for this team to get back on track. 3-3, 4-3 with DeAndre Hopkins. But, I mean, you got to go and win at Seattle next week. We can't take you seriously right now if you're going to lose 2 straight conference games, especially to Geno Smith. I'm sorry. I know he's playing well. We watch him every time we can because we've got a staff member who's a closet Seahawk fan, and he roots for Geno Smith to do well. And he looks fine. I mean, it is what it is. But Kyler Murray's making $45 million. He needs to go up to Seattle and beat on Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, you can dabble on that game utilizing the DraftKings Sportsbook app. It is fantastic. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 back in free bets if they do. I had the trifecta today, Frank. I lost all my fantasy matchups. I lost all my bets, and the Cardinals lost. I called it the trifecta. I'm sure many of you have experienced that same thing, but we bet through it. I'm going to bet on this Sunday night game. You can too. If that's not enough, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings Step Up Same Game Parlays. Right now, for every leg you add, you can boost your winnings up to 100% with bigger payouts than ever. Why would you bet on football anywhere else? You wouldn't. And to make things even sweeter, you can throw down on the Step Up Same Game Parlays once per day, all season long. It's simple, friends. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use that promo code PHNX. That's promo code PHNX on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See those show notes for details.
They're diving in on the chat, and their guys are rehashing the conversation of, did Cliff think they had the first down? And the presser said he did. And that's the part where, you got to look at it from that perspective. No timeouts. There's no, and 20 seconds on the clock. You either got to decide if you got the first down, great. If you try to challenge us, as Frankie Romero asked earlier in the chat, if you throw the challenge flag, you have no timeout, so then it's the clock still running. Well, that's in itself becomes an issue. So you gotta pick your poison. And unfortunately, our poison happened to be a kicker who hasn't been very good at his job at this stage, and we gave him an opportunity to prove it that he can make some more money in the NFL by being a kicker in that moment. And again, and unfortunately, it didn't go our way. The Cardinals playing Seattle is going to be this week. I know we're still kind of dealing with this in this situation we just lost in. I thought it was a hard-fought game. I thought the Cardinals gave themselves a chance to win versus a very good team. And we're trading in a good direction. We talked about this, over this weekend. This week was that we finally got our season legs under us and not our preseason legs. We got rid of those legs.
Yeah, but the offense still looks like it's in preseason.
It does,
mode.
and that part. Well, I believe that's the part that is really shocking to all of us right now, because that's what we think we should be getting more production out of, and hopefully that will get better. it's either, and that to me, I have honestly looking at it from my perspective, I really don't have answers on why it's so bad the first quarter. Because I mean, I can accept when we played Kansas City, the Raiders, and the Rams. We thought that would not. That
was the gauntlet.
That was the gauntlet to go through. But when we got ourselves in Carolina, we went out and played. It looked exactly the same. Like we didn't give a crap. Then we figured out how to fight at the end of the game. So that's something that we'll look to see if this team will get better and bounce back from this loss, understand their mistakes, and then hopefully we'll get Rodney back and some other players back from the injury.
It's just frustrating because I feel like no one has a firm grasp of the relationship trending in the right direction with Cliff and Kyler together. No one is suggesting that Cliff right now is Kyler's kingmaker and is getting the most out of him. I don't know how you could say that right now. And so I put a lot of ownership on Kyler this year because he is paid a premium. He's the highest paid player in franchise history. But at the same time, it's like everybody's questions before the season, is Cliff the guy to get Kyler to the next level? And I think based on the fact that they started hot last year, he got hurt, they were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And right now, I think the answer is no. I think the answer right now is Cliff and Kyler together may kind of hit a wall. And I still think this team's a playoff team.
We will get better.
No, I do think that. And Hopkins comes back. But we should not have to sit here with the gluttony of the weapons the Cardinals still do have and wait for one singular player to save this team.
You're right. You're right on that.
When Kyler Murray's making $45 million and Cliff Kingsbury gets a 5-year extension, like Hopkins should be a bonus when you traded your first-round pick for a proven receiver and you signed all these other guys and you brought back Zach Ertz. And it's just like nothing the Cardinals do offensively looks easy. Everything looks difficult. We're all shaken watching it like they're going to screw up or have a turnover or a negative play. They're just not in rhythm. And it's the stark contrast of what we saw last year with this offense to begin the season, that it was just came and it was seamless. And I think we've got, hopefully, Bo Brock live from State Farm Stadium. We're still awaiting comments from Kyler Murray. Potentially, Bo Brock is going to be able to give us some of that insight into what K1 said. And here we have Bo Brock joining us, my counterpart here at PHNX Cardinals, live from State Farm Stadium. And Bo Brock, number one, that was ugly. And number two, thanks for joining us because I know, my friend, you lost your phone. So I know either you're using your wife's phone or your laptop to join us. So it has not been a good 48 hours for you.
No, it's been a rough day. Last 12, it's probably 12 hours. But look, we talked to Cliff Kingsbury. They thought they had the first down. They thought it was pretty clear. Kyler Murray said everybody's yelling clock at him. And so he clocked the football. And that's where the Arizona Cardinals are as far as, a little bit of the debacle at the end of the game. So I'm feeling a little bit better, I'm sure, than they are. They took the L in a game that Kyler Murray said over and over, this was a winnable game. They thought they were going to win. Zach Ertz said that they thought they were going down and they're going to score a touchdown. And it was a Matt Amendola 43-yard miss.
Should they have even put him in that position, though, Bo Brock? Like, is it all coming down to the blunder at the end, or were they playing for the field goal? Because one of your tweets, there was a comment or from somebody on Twitter basically saying that that's the range they wanted to get him in, but then we're listening to the broadcast, and he's missing those field goals to begin the game. It's like, I wouldn't want any part of this guy. He's poison to me at the end of the game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, what Cliff Kingsbury had said, with where the clock was, that, they would take maybe a couple conservative passes. They weren't going to go at the end zone. So they were pretty okay with where they were field position-wise with Matt Amendola in that situation. I mean, it was a 43-yard field goal. NFL kickers should be able to put that through, and unfortunately couldn't get there.
Well, you had a chance. Did you get a chance to kind of talk to Hollywood Brown? And I know he was our king of the game. But from his performance, what do you think he kind of did today?
I thought Hollywood Brown was fantastic. Unfortunately, in Justin Pugh, I don't know if you guys played the video of Justin Pugh kind of saying it wasn't one effing guy and wasn't one effing play. But, obviously Hollywood Brown, a huge day. Touchdown was unbelievable. But you think about the drop catch where he probably goes 60-plus yards to the house. We didn't talk to Hollywood, but, I think there are a bunch of plays that were left out there on the field for this team and that show up and are glaring even outside the missed kick at the end.
Do you think Cliff Kingsbury puts a lot of ownership on how they start games on him? The Cardinals still inept in the first quarter, the only team in the NFL not scoring a point. And then you think about, like, you're not going to beat anybody in the NFL scoring 17 points. I'm sorry, especially against a team that's
No.
4-0. I know I was critical of the defense in the second half. The time of possession was grossly in favor of the Eagles, I should say. But what is it going to take for them to figure it out offensively? Because in year 4 of Cliff and Kyler, it should not look this hard.
Right. Yeah. These guys, they're grasping right now. They're reaching. They're searching for anything because they've been talking about this ad nauseum. They're sick of talking about it. They're sick of talking about the slow starts. They're sick of talking about losing at home. And the only thing that's going to change is better play. And Cliff takes ownership of that. People think when he says, we and the play calling, he means himself. He knows that he needs to be better as far as dialing up and scripted plays at the beginning of the game. And it's execution too. I mean, you're looking for execution. It was good to see them finally utilize Rondale Moore, but early on it seemed like he was kind of a drive killer a little bit in a sense, especially in the first half. Negative plays, a bunch of negative plays. So they're searching for it. They absolutely are, and everybody knows that it's going to take an effort, collectively, coaching, playing out there for them to get this, to turn things around, especially early.
Well, you got a chance to be in the locker room. Was there anything that or anyone that stood out to you? Comment wise or just attitude wise or the mood of the locker room? I know it's a loss, but it's something different. Did anything stand out to you that was different?
Not really. I mean, everybody, Kyler Murray's still in his uniform. He was sitting there at his locker almost in shock that they couldn't send this thing to overtime. You could tell that he was bothered by this almost more so than anybody else. We had the moment with Pugh where he came up to the kicker and said it's not on him, and then or not only on him, and then I mean it was pretty much the same message around the locker room. It was everybody seemed pretty beat down by this loss. It was pretty demoralizing when you got a team on the ropes, a chance to at least win or send it to overtime, and you come out of there with neither. So I think this team, sure, they might feel good if they can bounce back against Seattle and be 3-3, but the narrative continues around this team, about not being able to win at home. They can't change the one, obviously, about starting out slowly. So, this team is sick of all that, and they want to see it end just as much as everybody else.
Let's flip to the defensive side of the ball. Vance Joseph's done a nice job over the last couple of weeks, but I was critical in the second half. I mean, the Cardinals had 3 offensive possessions, Bo, to Philly in the second half, and I thought it was less about Philly converting points and touchdowns and more about controlling the tempo. I mean, the Cardinals got outgained in terms of time of possession by almost 10 minutes. They didn't force a turnover. I know Jalen Thompson dropped 2 picks. Good to see that he's okay. But, how much ownership are you putting, if any, on Vance Joseph in this defense? The 3 and outs were not there, and I didn't think J.J. Watt ate as much as I thought he would against a offensive line that was missing a bunch of players for Philadelphia.
I put 0 on Vance. I think Vance has done a pretty incredible job. I thought he did a really solid job against the Eagles. Surely it's not without frustration, no doubt about it. But, I mean, think about that long drive where Isaiah Simmons is brutally held on a big third down that should have he would have been all over Jalen Hurts, or at least got his hands up. It was things that were out of the defensive coordinator's control, and I thought what he was able to do was actually I was impressed. I think that VJ, as far as the coaching staff goes, he's definitely the guy that's kind of dialing up right schemes and right calls. And no, I put 0 on it. And
even without any kind of edge. I mean, there was no edge pressure today at all.
Well,
I mean, it came from Zach Allen and then blitzing defensive backs. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's he can't go out there and rush off the edge himself. I mean, he put Najee Sanders in there for the first time. I mean, the biggest issue for VJ is personnel, who's available, and right now you're not getting anybody that's getting home, especially off the edge. And he's searching for it, right? I mean, as you mentioned, they were blitzing guys as far as corners, and you saw Isaiah Simmons coming from a different angles, and still outside of Zach Allen and J.J. Watt, you weren't getting much disruption back there. So I don't put a lot of that on Vance Joseph, no.
Hey, real quick, the one of the chat conversations was about the guy that was running the personal clock back to the offensive side, the last seconds of the game, having a chance to put the ball down. They acknowledged that it was 1st and 10, and then chains doesn't move. But was there any comments about that or anybody's impression on that?
No, I mean it's pretty much what Kyler's getting everybody yelling in his face, clock. So that's where he's got his direction, right? And then Cliff is he's you know, I don't think anybody. I mean, from your personal experience, Frank, who are you looking at in those situations, in those 2-minute drills?
I'm looking at the quarterback.
Where are you usually looking for the change?
Quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm at the quarterback, the one that has the earpiece in is always going to be hearing guys say stuff, and he'll look to the sideline because he's always having face conversations with the OC or the head coach or another quarterback that might be calling out plays. So Kyler would be looking at the guy who has the microphone in the ear that's speaking to him specifically.
Yeah, the whole debacle was, it looks like he clearly had it according to Cliff. He's right there by the chain gang, and then you've got as far as the Cardinals. I mean, the clock operator or the guy who's running the video board has him at 1st and 10, and then so the Cardinals are just operating with a running clock. That this thing is a 1st down the entire way, and then but before they can even look at it, they've already. Kyler Murray's already put the ball into the turf. So, I mean, it was just a disaster for them. But, to Johnny's point in his question from before, I mean, this is content with its field position and Amendola to be able to hit from 43. I mean, that should be a makeable kick for any professional place kicker. I just don't think that it was just a disaster for them at the end of the game.
Lance in the chat kind of signifying, I think, a lot of the Cardinal fan base that this loss is on Kyler. I would say, combination, both he and Cliff were not at their best today. Would you agree with that assessment? Did you think Kyler played better than his stats indicated, or was he not as sharp as it looked like on the broadcast?
No, he looked sharp. He looked sharp once he got going, and that's been the case the entire season, right? When he finds his rhythm, he seems to be able to fire off and hit on all cylinders. But I don't know what it is. He just continues to come out slow and not make or execute the offense. And then also, negative plays put you in a tough position. And there was a couple with more, but also you get credit to this offense. They didn't make too many blunders as far as penalties, weren't putting themselves in bad positions. And yeah, I thought you got enough, but at the same time, you still got to finish. And you got to finish drives. You got to get in the end zone. And when you have the opportunity to put a team away like this, it's unfortunate they didn't.
I want to get to our producer, Emma. Yeah. She's got our DraftKings, or I'm sorry, not our DraftKings, but just our photo of the day from Danielle, who was out taking photos of us of the game at State Farm Stadium. Did a fantastic job. Hopefully you saw them peppered throughout our PHNX Cardinals social, my Twitter, Bo's Twitter. Tremendous job. Emma's going to pull that up here in a second. A couple more comments here. No, we'll pull it up right now. Hollywood Brown, photo of the game, came right after his touchdown. You can see Greg Dortch celebrating in the background. Those two gentlemen, hell of a game. Hollywood has been everything this team had hoped for en route to a career year, and I think we're all just kind of waiting with bated breath, Bo Brock, for this offense to kind of be saved by the likes of DeAndre Hopkins to pair him with Hollywood Brown. I mean, is there that sense in the locker room, Bo, that it's like, please, DeAndre Hopkins, come back and save us? Because Frank and I were talking, and it's like, yeah, that's how we're phrasing it. That's how the fan base is phrasing it. But at the same time, it's like, should it be like, well, we're just kind of waiting for D-Hop? But, like, they should be more competent than this, right?
Right. I think it's the latter. I think that they feel that about themselves, that there's enough playmakers out there, very confident in their skill set. Ertz, Moore, A.J. Green, he made a couple play. I feel like they have the guys to win football games, and they wanted to win today. No, he's been away from the organization up until this week. So no, they haven't thought about it. I think they've been trying to focus on, keeping this thing going and competing when, out of the gates, they just weren't doing that. And now they're getting back to where they're playing tight against one of the better teams in their conference. And I don't think they've been really thinking too much, been looking too far down the road. And you don't want to get caught looking too Thursday night football because, Seattle can put up some points now. And you're going to have to, slow them down on the offensive side and then put up points yourself to get 1-1 in the division.
Well, I'm going to ask you this. How is the situation going with the running backs? We saw Darrell Williams exit the game. We saw James Conner exit the game. Give us an injury status report if you could.
Yeah, everybody's hurt. No, I mean, what Cliff said that Eno was battling cramps the entire second half. I mean, this was a battered group, Frank. I mean, it was a Herculean effort from Benjamin, his first real opportunity to get consistent carries there in the second half, and it was all out of necessity because nobody was available. As far as James Conner, they were being cautious with him. They'll see what the issue is, and then you've got an issue with Jonathan Ward. Your fourth running back, and then you had Darrell Williams, under his own injury. So I don't think it's anything serious for any of those three guys that were hurt, but it was too much for them to go, and Benjamin did pretty solid job in their absence.
Well, I'm pretty sure this will be my last question. I know for a fact. Like, how about this here? You are the man who knows all about the injuries that's taking place on this team. You write in-depth lists of just a genre of guys that get hurt. Question. So everyone in the chat can be eased. Is Mr. Prater coming back next week?
Oh, man. I don't know about that. I would say I don't think it's going to be Amendola, but I don't know if Prater's going to be back soon. I mean, it seems like he's in pretty big pain, and we'll see where they are come next week. They haven't IR'd him, obviously, so that's at least maybe a step in the right direction. I just don't think that it's something that you can honestly say right now with conviction that he's going to be back as early as next week.
Well, Brock, live from State Farm Stadium. Emma, producer, is the GM Saul Bookman joining us? I know you said he was en route about 10 minutes ago. Do we still have him on the docket? What's going on?
I just got a text message from him saying that he was here, so he should be up any minute.
Okay, Saul's going to give us his 2 cents from the stadium before we sign off today. I want to remind everybody, be sure to smash that like button right now underneath this video. Help share the YouTube algorithm. Please be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. PHNX_Cardinals. Subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. And hey, we got a t-shirt I want to tell you about. We love Hollywood. We love the Hollywood Hill sign on Camelback Mountain. Check it out right now. You can get this instantly from the PHNX merchandise locker. Go buy it. They're selling out like hotcakes. I'm trying to cop mine here in the short term. Frank Sanders, haven't been able to get my hands on one because they're so hot. But the Hollywood Hill sign on Camelback, we love that. We also love our touchdown symbol shirt.
Can we please get one of those?
I would love one. The GM Saul Bookman has one. I don't have one. Doesn't seem fair, but is what it is. I'm in here in our older t-shirt. Maybe we're just effing better, which is still available on the merchandise locker. You can get that as well. Check out Howard Balzer's fantastic work at gophnx.com. Subscribe, read Howard's content. He's got articles once, twice, sometimes 3 times a day. He's cranking them out better than anybody. And, of course, Bo Brock's giving us everything and anything we want, as Arizona Animal saying Saul's about to go off. We are waited with bated breath. Here he comes. Live from State Farm Stadium, the GM Saul Bookman in his fresh new celebratory touchdown t-shirt. I would have loved to have seen this celebratory touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles today. He comes, he sits next to me. I'm sure he's got a lot of nice things to say about Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. But be sure to check out this t-shirt at the PHNX merchandise locker. It's at gophnx.com. You become a member for the entire year, just under $60. You can cop this t-shirt for free. Well, let me welcome him, the GM Saul Bookman, joining us after taking in the game as a fan, man of the people. How are you doing, Saul?
Yeah, it was fun. You can hear it in my voice a little bit.
Man, Saul, you was out there giving.
Hey, man, when I go hard, man. I don't fuck around.
All right, well, give us your take on the game here as we wrap up the PHNX Cardinals postgame show.
Outside of the first quarter, which I still think is an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
It's a travesty. It's a mockery. It's a shame that we keep doing this to ourselves.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I'm actually happy with the game.
Okay.
I thought the defense balled their ass off. They did everything they possibly could to stay in the game. I mean, even with the Eagles being depleted on the offensive line, they still have the hogs up front to be able to really take advantage of the defensive line for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
They just do. And their schemes are a little bit different. They're a little bit more complex. And the Cardinals, they hustled. They were flying all over the field. They were out of position a couple times, but overall, I was really happy with the defense. So I don't put any of this on Vance. I agree with Bo. And honestly, in Kyler, outside of that first half, a couple points there, I was happy with the way Kyler played. I really was. Yeah, okay. Like, especially in the second half, I thought he had full control of what he was doing out there. I thought he was seeing the field clearly, better than the first half. The first half, I thought he had some plays that I was like, bro, what are you doing right now? But again, in the first quarter, I tweeted this out. It was like they had some momentum on that first drive. They got the first down, and then they do that stupid ass fucking bubble screen, and then they do another end around on another drive. And those two Rondale Moore plays were like drive killers for themselves. Yep. And I think the team even feels it at this point, like, shit, not this again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that the one later in the game where Rondale was able to reel off, like, I think a 19-yard run.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that kind of can maybe bring a little bit of life back to that a little bit, because I know Cliff loves to make that fucking play call.
Well, they used him down the field in the second half.
Yeah, no, and that was great. They tried earlier in the game, and it just didn't work out. But again, I was pretty happy. And from my perspective, I thought they were going to score a touchdown. Like, it did not feel like they were trying to just get in field goal range. It looked like they were going for it. And I was watching. So I was in the I don't know what you call it, the south end zone or whatever, the one with the bleachers, right?
Yeah.
And so I watched Kyler slide, and when he slid, I immediately looked at where he was on the field, and I was like, dude, he didn't make that. They're gonna say that he was sliding beforehand. And I was looking at Cliff the whole time, and he's like, kill. And I'm like, bro, no. And at the time, I thought it was third down, or I thought it was fourth down.
Yeah.
And I thought he was saying kill.
On fourth down, yeah.
On fourth down, I thought the game was going to be over right there. Yeah. So I had the downs wrong. So luckily, they were able to get the field goal off. But again, it's a 43-yard field goal. You got to come through. Situational awareness was a little rough in that moment because even on the loudspeaker in the stadium, they said first down.
Yeah.
They said first down in the stadium.
I can't put this on Kyler Murray.
No.
If the PA is saying it and your head coach is saying it, probably people in the huddle are saying it.
They had picked up the marker, and then they put it back down. Like, everything from Kyler's standpoint, he's thinking, I got the first down.
So he shouldn't be roasted on social media.
Fuck no, he shouldn't be roasted. No. And I was a little offended by the headline. I was like, no, this is not on Kyler. He should have dove instead of slid.
Yeah.
Yes, 1,000,000%. But again, even with that being said, he still thought he got the first down. Everybody's giving him all the signals that say that he got the first down. I can't roll with that.
Well, to be
one.
fair, when we started the show, it was our understanding that Kyler Murray had done that on his own. I wasn't in the stadium. We didn't see that. We didn't have the comments from the post game. The broadcast itself was like, what an egregious error from Kyler Murray. Yeah. Like that, it was penned like that. I think everybody is to blame. I also am with you. Like, Kyler Murray needs to become Lamar and Jalen in that instance and just get tackled and fall forward.
I actually thought that it was kind of interesting to see. It was almost as if Cliff Kingsbury was learning from the Eagles sideline. And it's like, oh, shit, maybe we could just make some, straight up quarterback runs with Kyler. And look at this. It actually fucking works. Look at this. Hey, these guys kind of know what they're doing. Let me steal some of that shit. And it worked. Now, the first play of that drive to try and win or tie the game, for them to call a quarterback draw was just so ballsy.
Yeah.
I was like,
where was that earlier in the game?
Fantastic. It was fantastic.
They're missing backs and they have an opportunity. Go ahead, Bo.
Can we just a round of applause for Saul Bookman trying to drown out the Eagles fans here in State Farm Stadium by himself?
Just right with that raspy voice.
First of all,
on the line. I mean,
there was no drowning out the Eagles fans. I won't even I haven't seen a crowd.
Give a percentage.
It had to be 65, 70% Eagles fans.
Jesus.
Yeah, I haven't seen a crowd like that since I was in Sun Devil Stadium and the Cardinals were playing like the Cowboys. I haven't seen anything like that.
Do you think that's attributed to the Eagles fans travel well, or because the Cardinals have been so bad at home?
I think a little bit of both, maybe. Yeah. I mean, if the Cardinals were undefeated coming into this game, I think Cardinals fans would have held on to their tickets more.
For sure.
But they saw the opportunity to sell those tickets for probably 2, 3, 4 times what the cover is and make their season ticket, residuals back, and they took advantage of it, which is really sad because, in my head as a fan, I think, okay, I'm not going to sell my tickets unless it's a game that I think we should win, or it's the season's over and I have like 2 games left to go and I want to make my money back. Those are the two situations. But you're literally playing the best team in the NFC right now in the NFL record-wise. Why would you sell your tickets just to give them to this asshole fan base that deserves nothing Nothing good.
Yeah.
They were all assholes. Every fucking 5 steps, I got to hear somebody go,
Insufferable.
"E," and then you hear AGLES Eagles. I'm like, shut the fuck up, please. I couldn't even stand it. But here we are after taking an L, and it was really hard to walk out of that stadium and just like keep going.
We appreciate you bringing the energy. We appreciate you, Bo Brack, bringing the energy from State Farm Stadium. Frank and I have been hanging all day. Halftime show.
Also, get the shirt. They just put it out there. It's
I know.
fucking fire.
It's
as hell.
great.
I got a lot of compliments on it. You will too.
We get compliments on all of you for hanging out with us all day here at PHNX. PHNX Cardinals. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Like this video on YouTube. We're back manana. We're going to pick up the pieces. We got a big game next weekend against the Seattle Seahawks. Cardinals by no means are out of it. It'll be an interesting Monday, I would say, here around the Valley with the Arizona Cardinals. In the meantime, for Frank Sanders, Saul Bookman, who's hoarse, but he's back. Bo Brack, live from State Farm.
I sound like Doc Rivers. Let's go, baby.
Can't blame Blake.
I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you guys tomorrow.